good afternoon to our viewers for joining us this afternoon as we're taking yet another look at our practice paper session. So very good afternoon viewers for joining us this afternoon as we're taking yet another look at a practice paper. Picking up where we left off last time, today we're taking a look this afternoon at the RGPS 2023 end of year paper at the primary 5 level. As always, we'll be taking a look at some fundamentals, mainly stemming from grammar and vocab, before applying these skills in our grammar and vocab closures, before wrapping up with our editing passage. Okay. So for our viewers who are slowly joining us this afternoon, if you have them with you, I think we're good to start preparing your writing materials. Along the way, if any questions or if any problems you come across in your own revision that you'd like us to address during our live stream over here, please feel free to jot them down and to note them in our chat over here so we can discuss these problems together. Right. So once again, let's take a look at our paper for today. We'll start off with the grammar MCQ section. Okay, right. Yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon to those who are joining in also. Hopefully everyone has had a pleasant morning on this Friday so far. Okay, I understand many of our viewers here who are in school have had today off because it's Teachers' Day, right? So wishing all the teachers out there and all the students a happy Teachers' Day. Okay, hopefully you have a good break from school yesterday and are able to take a rest over here today before heading off to your September holidays. I understand many of you are preparing for your end of year, final year papers, whether or not it's national exams or even in the school-wide level. So I wish you all the best as we take a look at some of the exam management techniques during today's live stream session. Along the way, if there are any points where I feel would be a good opportunity to discuss, not just the question itself, not the subject itself, but also some exam techniques or exam smart techniques for managing your time and managing your performance in your exams, I'll be sure to point them out. Okay, hi. Hi, Marcus. Yep, hi, very much. Hi. Hi, why yes? Okay, haha, I'm from this school. Right, hopefully you find this paper familiar if you have attempted this paper before. Hopefully you can find this useful. Again, hello Pimpin, also joining us back from our noontime session just now. Hopefully you've had a good break over the 1 hour or so before we start off looking at today's paper. Okay. Is everyone ready? Right, great to hear everyone's doing well. Let's get started with today's paper, starting off with our grammar section. As always, it's good to establish our fundamentals from the start. Looking at our paper for today. Oops, maybe it's not too centered. Okay, much better. Okay, question 1. Mr. Johnson saw Melvin, blank and injured boy, cross the road 2 days ago. Question 1 can be deceptively tricky if you're not paying attention, right? We see words such as help, saw being see in the past tense, and we see 2 days ago at the end of the sentence. So what does this tell us about this question? Okay, right, Molly and Pimpin have their answers in over here, option 3. Certainly it seems that way, right? We see saw in the past tense of see, we see 2 days ago, so it seems as if the verb tense of this sentence is in the past tense. And that is true, right? This sentence is in the past tense. Ordinarily, your answer would then follow this line of logic to lead you to option 3, helped, which is the past tense of help. Okay? However, this question isn't as simple as that. Okay? There's a special word over here, saw, right? Why is saw special? Oops. Saw. Oh, Pimpin changed the answers to 1. So, Pimpin, maybe you'd like to share with us, why do you think your answer would change to option 1 instead of option 3? Gabriel is coming in with option 2 to provide a different point of view. Okay, so let's go with Pimpin first before Gabriel can join in. And okay, maybe Gabriel's fingers slipped. Why option 1 and not option 3? You're looking at the verb tense of this sentence is past tense. We see 2 days ago, we see saw. Okay, certainly, right, Amber? Amber is pointing out it is in the past tense. Gabriel says past present tense. Okay, there isn't a tense called a past present tense, but I think I know what you're trying to mean over here. If I can try to build off Gabriel's answer. Okay, saw is the past tense of the verb see, and seeing falls under a special category of verbs called verbs of perception. What is a verb of perception? This sounds like a very scary concept, very big word, right? What does this even mean? A verb of perception simply refers to any verb that relates to your 5 senses. Okay. What are your 5 senses? Your sense of smell, your sense of touch, your sense of taste, your sense of hearing, and finally your sense of sight, seeing, right? And your sense of sight relates to seeing, right? Mr. Johnson used his sense of sight, his vision, to see Melvin blank an injured boy cross the road. Okay. So when you have a verb of perception over here, the verb that immediately follows after it has a very special rule. It ignores all the verb tense in the questions. It ignores all the subjects in the question, whether or not it's singular or plural, whether or not it's present tense, past tense, continuous tense, it doesn't matter. It ignores everything, and the blank over here must be filled in by a verb in the base form. Regardless of the verb tense of the sentence, regardless of subject-verb agreement, this blank over here must be filled in with a base form. And looking at our answers over here, the only answer that is in the correct base form is option 1. Okay. Option 1, help over here, is in the base form. Okay. Option 2, helps, is used for the singular subject, but again, remember, we must default to the base form. Okay, ignore subject-verb agreement rules over here. Okay. Once again, option 3, helped, it is in the correct verb tense of the sentence. However, we must ignore the verb tense of the sentence and always rely on the base form. So once again, options 2 and 3 are not considered over here, leaving us with option 1. Is that clear to our viewers over here why we use a base form after a verb of perception? Okay, right. So again, when you come across questions like these, do not fall into the trap too easily. Read through the question first. Think about the verbs in the sentence, right? Do they fall under a special category of verbs such as verb of perceptions? And how does that affect your answer moving forward? Okay. Yep. Question 2. Okay, thank you very much for your responses. Question 2. My sisters and I blank this trip to Japan to visit our grandparents since last month. My sisters and I blank this trip to Japan to visit our grandparents last month. Okay. Off the top of our head, some words that should stand out to us since last month. Why is this important? This tells us that this activity of planning had already started off in the past, right? We see the conjunction over here since. Since tells us dating back to last month, we have already started planning this trip to Japan. But what else should we pay attention to in this sentence over here? Okay. Since last month tells us that this should be in a continuous tense. It is an action. This act of planning is still happening in the present. We started sometime in the past. We have not finished it yet. So it should be in the continuous tense. So options 1 and 2 will not be considered because we're only looking for verbs in the continuous tense, which is options 3 and 4, has been planning and have been planning. I see that some of us already have our answers in, including Pin Pin, but why is it option 4 and not 3? What's the difference between the two? We notice option 3 starts off with has, referring to a singular subject, while option 4 starts off with have, the plural subject. So the question here really boils down to my sisters and I. Is this a singular or plural subject? In this case here, because you use the connector and includes all the elements within this group of subjects. So my sister and myself as well. So those are plural. The answer would then be option 4. This is a plural subject. The connector and tells us that this should be a plural subject because both of these subjects are equally important. If it's like or, then would it be a singular subject? Great question, right? Either my sisters or I blank this trip to Japan to visit our grandparents since last month, right? I think that is the question that Dr. Yellow has. If you have either someone or someone else, right? That's the question from Dr. Yellow. If it's either or, then will it be a singular subject? What do we think in the chat? If you come across questions such as either or even neither nor, is there a rule we should follow? If you come across either or neither nor, you should be using, hold on. Okay. Singular. Okay, Dr. Yellow has question. Will it be singular? Okay, Dr. Yellow, I'll put a pin in that for now because you'll see very soon. Right now we're on question 2. Question 4 talks about this rule. Okay, so hang on a bit. Just wait for 2 more questions and we can address this in full detail. Okay, so hang on just a bit, alright? Okay, Pin Pin also seems to chime in with the answer over here. But again, let's put a note in it. Maybe it isn't as simple as we think it is. Okay, so question 4, we'll be taking a look at this rule. For now, let's look at question 3 first. I had much respect blank Jenna because he was a strong competitor who showed great sportsmanship. Okay. This is a question on collocations, words that go together. Okay. So which of these options over here go together with respect? Dr. Yellow and Orange Juice have joined in with Artsy. Respect for, right? So correct, well done. Especially Pin Pin also getting the right answer at the end over here. Having much respect for Jana because he was a strong competitor who showed good sportsmanship. Okay, now proceed to question 4. Question 4, I think this goes back to Dr. Yellow's question just now. Dr. Yellow's question about or. Okay, question of Orange Juice. Is this P1 English? Orange Juice, this isn't P1 English. In fact, it is P5 English. Okay, so maybe if you are looking at this from the lower primary level, there might be some questions that are a bit tricky, but I can assure you that many questions here, they assess your basics and your fundamentals, and all these fundamentals were built early on from our lower primary years. Okay, so you find this paper, even at the lower primary level, you might find some of these questions suitable for your practice as well. Okay. In English, there are no giant leaps of logic or giant leaps of improvement. Every skill, every rule that we follow or obey in the English language system all builds upon our fundamentals all the way back when we started learning the language. Okay, so for orange juice and for right, Orange Juice P2. Right, Orange Juice mentions that they are in P2. And yet you got the answer right for question 3, right? And surprise, guess what? A lot of upper primary students, especially in their grammar MCQ and grammar close, they struggle with the collocations you see in question 3. Okay? So for Orange Juice over here, even if you're in a lower primary, you might feel that this paper isn't aimed at your level. I think this is a good opportunity also for you to challenge yourself, then to reassess if some of these skills and these rules that we learned before in class can be applied here also. Okay, yep, no worries. Definitely a good chance for us to refresh our fundamentals and basics. And this goes out also to the upper primary students or more advanced students in our chat over here. It's always important to go back to your fundamentals. You can only go so far. Your fundamentals are not lacking. Okay. Question 4. Question 4 goes back to Dr. Yellow's question just now about either or. In this case here, we have either Ali or his sisters blank decorating the house. They will be hosting a party later. I remember struggling so bad in primary school English. Certainly, right? Primary school English can definitely be quite a challenge for many of us because the English we use conversationally at home with our friends need not necessarily follow along the fixed rules of the English language. So occasionally, what we might regularly think is acceptable or correct English ends up not being quite right at the exam level. Okay, so something that we should also be mindful of. English is not just a spoken language, it's also a written language, and it follows a very different rules from there. Pimpin has the answer for R. Okay, why R, Pimpin? Okay, why do you use the plural subject over here for either or? Okay, so either or and its cousin, I call it its cousin, but I call it sibling. Neither nor. Either nor and neither nor follow the same rule. We call it the nearest rule. What is the nearest rule? The nearest rule states that whichever noun is closest to the verb, whichever noun is closest to the verb that follows after is the one you should take reference from. Okay? What are the nouns that we have? We have Ali, we have his sisters. In this case here, which of these nouns are closer to the subject? That would be his sisters, right? His sisters is the one that's nearest to our verb over here. And sisters, we see here sisters in the plural. So that would be option 2, are decorating the house. Again, we use are because we see they will be hosting a party later on in the future tense. So, oops, oh, no, 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 no. They'll be hosting a party later on in the future tense. This tells us that whatever action is happening right now is in the present tense. Not the present perfect, but the present tense. So future tense, present tense. Is this clear where you use option 2R? If it's sister, then won't it be is? Exactly right, Dr. Yellow. If it's just Ali and one sister, then it would be is. Or even for this question, if you flip it around, either Ali's sisters or Ali blank decorating the house. In that case here, since Ali, the sole person, is nearer to the blank, you would then use the singular. You just flip the two subjects around. So whichever is closest to the blank, that is the one that you take reference from. Okay. But I want to use this to launch us to question 2, right? Question 2, as Dr. Yellow mentioned earlier. My sisters and I blank this trip to Japan. If you were to switch this to a short variation of this question, either my sisters and I, or I, blank um, blank been planning the trip. From question 2 just now. Either my sisters or I, blank, have been planning this trip. In this case here, what goes into this example question blank? I can shift it out of the way. What would be the correct answer in this example question blank here? By the nearest rule, are my sisters or am I nearer to the blank? In this case, I am nearer to the blank. So far, so good? Since I am nearer to the blank, I should be the one that this blank takes reference from. Okay? And I, we're just one person, yeah? Singular. So, singular has been planning. Okay? Correct? Any mistakes here? Anyone disagrees? So far, so good, right? We follow the rules that we've established so far. Since I as a singular subject, it would be the singular verb has been planning for the past perfect, present perfect tense. Anyone thinks that this looks weird or this looks wrong? Anyone maybe taking a second glance and seeing, hey, something isn't quite right here? Yep, as Pimpin has correctly pointed out over here, there's a special condition for you to take note of over here. When you're going from the third person, which is Ali, third person point of view, to first person I, when you have I, you cannot use the singular verb of has. It needs to be have. I have been planning. Okay. I have been planning. I uses the plural over here. I know this is a bit something you've learned before, right? What do you think, orange juice? You learned before even in your school over the past 2 years, right? I is a special case where even if it's only one person, you need to use the plural, right? Orange juice. Exactly. So to refer to Dr. Yellow's question earlier, there's a way I can. Okay. If there's a way I can maybe refer to this comment, maybe I can. Okay. Let's move this out of the way. Right. So to point out Dr. Yellow's question that I've pinned for your reference. Here, okay, can. Right, I've pinned a comment over here on Dr. Yellow just now in reference to question 2. If it's all, then would it be a singular subject? If it is all in question 2, then yes, it would be a singular subject. However, the singular subject would then be I. Okay? And I follows the plural. Okay? So in this case, if you put a all, regardless if it's my sister or I, you both need to fill this in with have been planning. Does that answer your question, Dr. Yellow? Okay. Right, I promise I will get to it in question 4, yeah? Okay, hi Josh, welcome back. Josh, we're looking at the grammar sections over here, and here we're trying to build connections and making connections between the different grammar rules in the different questions. Okay. Right, so hopefully it's something that we also need to be mindful of as well, right? Many times in the English language, there might be grammar rules that come into conflict or they might play different roles in answering the question. So you cannot just rely on just one form of method of examining and trying to answer a question, you need to build all these knowledges and skills together to use a multivariate approach to answer the question. Okay, and back to talking about a layered approach to answering a question, that leads us to question 5. Question 5 is quite a complex question, so let's slowly unpack it. I can move this out of the way. Nice. Okay. Question 5. All the girls went to the park, blank they. All the girls went to the park. In this case, we look at a verb in the sentence. You're filling this up with a verb. Okay. 2 rules of the verb you need to follow. Okay, I have an answer from Pimpin and Josh over here with birthday cake joining in. Birthday cake joining in the party with their answer. But let's see whether or not they are correct and why are they correct. So we need to follow according to the verb over here. First verb we should take a look at is it needs to be in the same tense. In the first clause of the sentence, the main clause being the first part of the sentence, what is the verb in this clause? The verb or the action in this clause is went, right? Went is the past tense of go. Right, so went is the past tense of go. All the girls went to the park. All the girls did go to the park. Okay. Second rule you take note of, as some of you have pointed out, this is a positive negative question tag. What do I mean by positive negative? Okay. Some might call it opposing action, but in this case here I'll be using positive negative, right? Positive as in good versus bad? Not quite. In this case here, positive of the verb is did go. If the positive is did go, the negative would then be did not go. Okay, so this will be in the past tense. And then the positive negative transformation from did go to the negative did not go. So your answer must contain the verb did not. Okay. And among the 4 options presented to us on the screen, the one that is incorrect, or the only one that fulfills this criteria, is option 4, didn't. Okay, didn't being the short form of did, contraction of did not. Okay. So this is quite a higher order question. Make sure you need to be able to unpack and slowly solve for your answer. Okay. Especially for lower primary viewers like Orange Juice and others, this question you might not see this question at your level yet. Alright, so this is quite difficult. There are many of your P5 and P6 seniors who also struggle with questions like these. Alright, so if you're not familiar with this question, you don't have to worry about it for now. Okay? Alright, for younger viewers, you don't have to worry about question tags in lower primary. Focus on building your basics first. Only in upper primary do you need to start thinking about question tags. Okay? Pimpin learned this in primary 3. Okay, good. So some of us have also learned at different paces and different levels. It's a good chance for you to maybe catch up and maybe try to compete against your classmates to see who does better at this level. Okay. Any questions about question tags? Okay. Right, so question 6 is one that maybe all of us can join in on. It's not too... It goes back to one of the basic fundamental concepts over here, looking at prepositions. Okay. Prepositions relating to positions. Positions relative to other objects in the sentence. You are blank my way. Please move aside so that we can get past. Mary exclaimed at the man standing in the hallway. Right, Earn is coming in with their answer, and I think earlier on, Pin Pin also had their answer in really quickly, along with Birthday Cake. Birthday Cake and Pin Pin had jumped ahead with the question just now. But Earn and Craigs, right, Craigs are coming in with the answers of option 1. Does anyone disagree with the options that we have over here? Okay. Right, certainly the correct option you should be looking at for this question on prepositions is option 1. You are in my way, please move aside so that we can get past. Okay. Question 7. Okay, question 7 again might be a bit tricky for some of our upper primary students or viewers, but let's take a look nonetheless. Mrs. Tan, as well as her pupils, blank performing a dance at the upcoming concert. Mrs. Tan, as well as her pupils, blank performing a dance at the upcoming concert. First off, we see at the end of the sentence, upcoming concert. What does it mean when something is upcoming? When it is upcoming, that means it is about to happen in the future, right? It'll be happening in the future. So we should be looking at the present tense. With that, we can safely eliminate options 1 or options 3 and 4 because was and were both relate to the past tense. Okay. So this should be your first step. Anyone disagrees with our elimination so far? Okay. I see user 866 Blazers. User 866 Blazers Pin Pin coming in with their answers. And Viv Penguin over here has provided an explanation with additional info. Okay, so let's see what does Viv Penguin mean over here. Okay. Pin Pin mentions is option is similar to end. Let's see about that. And stay calm remains it is option 1. So it seems a lot of the dispute over here occurs between option 1 and option 2. Option 1 looking at the singular subject, just the one person. R is used for the plural. Going back to our subject in this sentence over here, we see the blank. The blank is preceded or follows after Mrs. Tan as well as her pupils. Okay. Ken's Chew has also joined in with R. It looks like most people seem to cluster around R. Okay. Why do we use R? Because we see pupils, maybe it's nearest. Maybe we see as well as also as the conjunction, the connector for Mrs. Tan and her pupils. Right? So quite a few possible reasons why you want to use R. But here is something we need to take note of, and I think Viv Penguin has correctly spotted it. Okay. Mrs. Tan is the name of a person, right? She's a thing, she's a noun, rather a pronoun. She is a person or a thing. If you come across a question where you have a noun, such as Mrs. Tan, followed by 2 commas, okay? 1 comma here, 1 comma after. Everything that lies in between these 2 commas, everything that lies between these 2 commas is additional information. If you're in the chat over here, Josh, maybe if you can recall from our noontime session earlier this afternoon, what do I mean by additional information? Okay. I'm referring to additional information that points towards the subject of this noun. Okay. This is additional information about the noun. Right. So maybe hopefully this will jog your memories for those of us who have maybe seen a question style like this before, but we haven't had the chance to attempt it yet. So this is a special type of additional information called an addition distractor. Addition distractor. You might have come across questions like these in other forms before, apart from as well as you might see variations with together with or along with. So all of these are different variations, different forms of addition distractors. However, they share one similarity. The similarity is that they are all distractors. And distractors serve the purpose of drawing our attention away from what is truly important in the question. Okay? So what is truly important in this question over here, you're trying to pull your focus, pull your concentration away from what's important. Okay? So my advice to you is when you come across a distractor question like this, everything that lies in between the commas, take your pencil out, strike it out. Okay? Pretend it doesn't exist because functionally within this sentence, it makes no difference to the verb. Okay? So strike it out. And then you go about answering the question as per normal. Mrs. Tan, blank, performing a dance at the upcoming concert. By cancelling it out, do we have a clearer answer? Right, K has an K is responding with is, and yes, that is a case, right? Because in this case here, Mrs. Tan is the singular noun. We use option 1 is. Okay, any questions? Any questions on why the answer here is option 1 and not option 2? Okay, so please take note, especially for those of us in the comments who might not have noticed or might not have known of this rule prior to today's practice paper. Please take note of this rule for all future practices, all right? Okay. Yep, no worries. Okay, maybe something that you want to think about. Okay, now maybe Josh, if this jogs your memory a bit, we have addition. We also have subtraction, right? You learn in math lessons, you learn about addition and subtraction, plus and minus. What are some subtraction distractors you might have seen before in your questions? Okay. Josh, can you recall any? Okay. Some subtraction distractors include except for, excluding, or apart from. Okay. So these are all examples of possible subtraction distractors. Okay. But ultimately, whether or not they are addition or subtraction, they are all under the big group of distractors. So when you come across an addition or a subtraction distractor, simple rule, just strike it out and ignore it. Any questions? Okay, I know it's quite a lot to digest over here, so let's take a minute or two just to let it sit in for a moment and mull it over. Talking about math, yes, this is English. This is English, but you can see some of the concepts over here seem almost related to math, right? Addition to provide additional information, subtraction to take away from the subject. Question 8. Blank, this wedding ceremony is about to start. Most of the guests have not arrived. Blank, the wedding ceremony is about to start. Most of the guests have not arrived yet. So what should be the correct conjunction at the start of this sentence? Question 8. Sealam answers flooding the chat over here. What do the rest think? Oh, I've received a rose from Eddie Black. Okay, thank you very much for the rose. Okay. Stay Calm and Rainong has also joined in with their answer for question 8. Although, okay. Yeah, thank you very much. I think it's okay for each question. Thank you very much for the active response. But for each question, you can just put in one answer, right? You don't have to flood in all your answers like raindrops coming down. Okay, just one answer will do for each question. In this case here, although is the correct conjunction used. Yep, thank you very much for the rose earn as well, for your kind messages and for your kind roses. Okay, just one answer, please, 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 please don't. Okay, please don't rain down your answers upon the chat. Just do it, just one, unless you have a clarification or you have a correction to make. Okay, thank you very much, and thank you very much, Eddie, once again for the roses. Although it's used to indicate a contrast or failing to subvert expectations in the second half of the clause. Question 9. Do you know that the lady blank you spoke to in the lobby is the principal of the school? Okay. I think I saw an answer from Pin just now about question 9, right? Pin has submitted the answer for question 9 and so has Josh. Okay. How about the rest? Do the rest agree with Pin and Josh that the answer is option 2? Maybe the options listed here are not too difficult. Maybe that's an exam management technique in and of itself. But if you come across an option like who, right? When do we use who? When do we use whom? Okay, okay. Craigs and Raynong has also joined in with their answers for this question. With stay calm, all options too. But when you use who, when you use whom? Okay. In a sentence, do you know the lady blank you spoke to at the lobby is the principal of the school? In this case here, spoke to is your verb, right? You spoke to the lady. Okay. So when you have spoke as your verb, let me move this in a bit because I think it's running out of the page. Okay, much better. When you have a sentence like this, you have your verb, whoever is the one that carries out this action of speaking, whoever is the one that's acting out this action is your subject. In this case here, I, or rather you, are the subject. The recipient of the action, the one that is being acted upon, the one who receives the speaking, is the object. Okay? By object, I don't mean non-living thing, but rather the recipient of this action or this verb. So depending on your subject or your object, when you use the subject, you use who. When you're referring to a subject, you use who. When you're referring to the object, you use whom. Okay? Let me make myself clear. Subject, you use who. Object, you use whom. In this case here in the question, the lady blank you spoke to. Does this blank address you, or is it describing the lady over here? Which is the case? It's providing additional information about the lady, right? So it should be option 2, whom. Okay? So these options over here maybe not too tricky, but if you come across an option with who versus whom, now you know how do you answer it. Whose also, okay, whose is a possessive pronoun. Whose is a possessive pronoun used to indicate ownership. Whose water bottle is this? Whose live stream is this? Whose pencil case is this? Right? So it's used to indicate ownership of a noun and the ownership of an object. Okay. Right. So understand that you might still have some doubts over this question over here. Due to the space limits on the page, I won't be able to explain with great detail about how do you answer a question like this because the space over the page here is quite limited. Okay, but if you want to find out more about when you use who, when you use whom, and when you use whose, you can always check out our TikTok page. Okay, so let me just move over slightly. If you check out, if you have to check out our TikTok over here, you'll see this page, right? If you have to check out our TikTok page, okay, click on this link over here in red. Okay, click on this red link that says Linktree Writers at Work. Okay. Once you click on it, you'll be brought to a page including our social media channels, but what you're looking for is in this shop. Okay, again, before you turn off, this shop has items in there that are free. Okay, don't tell people who are not in the live stream over here, but this shop has hidden free items. Okay, where do you find it? Go to the shop, scroll to the second item. Okay, shop, the second listing over here, we have cheat sheets, 5 cheat sheets for you that it's available for your access on the internet for free. Okay, but don't tell those who are not in the live stream, alright? This is only for you who have joined us today. Okay? So join our Rise at Work cheat sheets over here. Different kind of cheat sheets for different questions, but the one we want to look at is this one. When do we use who? When do we use whom? So once you're ready, you can click on it. It will bring you to our Writers at Work blog over here about the usage of who versus whom. Okay, maybe it's a bit, I can't zoom. Okay, yeah, much better. Okay, this article is on our blog over here. Our blog post on when do we use who, when do we use whom. Okay. Along the way, there's an explanation, and not only an explanation, but also sample questions for you to try them out to test your understanding. Okay. These sample questions are not plucked out from thin air. These are all sample questions taken from other schools' exams and papers as well. So it's something that you can actually see or expect to see in your own school exams. Okay, for example, P6 English from prelims, from Chinese Girls' School in 2023. We see practice questions from the Temasek Primary English Prelim 2023. And also sample questions from Mary Stella. Again, all up-to-date questions, all up-to-date papers, all of them from up-to-date schools. Okay? So check out, to navigate to this page once again, just go to our Linktree, and access our cheat sheets. They're all available on the internet publicly for you to enjoy and to use for your own revision practice. But how do you find it? Make sure you just keep it within yourselves today for the live stream, alright? Don't have to tell your friends or your fellow classmates how do you find out this additional information that's all available to you on the internet for free. Okay. So as always, can check out our Writers at Work blog for other cheat sheets that are available depending on your related subject. Can I do it now? Yes, go ahead, Pimpin. You can definitely check out these cheat sheets over here. I just went through this one over here, but there are other cheat sheets for you to take a look at. Okay. And for Josh, how long is this live stream? Sorry. The live stream for today, we will end our afternoon session for this paper at 4. Then we'll be taking a short break, and the evening we'll pick up with a different set of papers. Okay, so I look forward for the evening live stream after this one. Okay. Okay. Once again, to navigate to this page, just go to our TikTok page, click on the Linktree, go to the shop, and then the second item over here with cheat sheets for you. Okay, and take note, these cheat sheets you don't have to pay for it. Okay, so if there's anything there asking you for payment, asking you to submit credit card details or to pay for it, that is not the right page. Okay, you've gone to the wrong page, or someone is trying to someone has hacked into your computer, so there's the wrong page. Go to this one over here, the cheat sheets, all of them available to you for free. Okay, so for your own revision guide and reference. Okay. All right, see you, Josh. Hope you have a good shower. Hygiene is very important. Yeah. Question 10. Lily and Sheila invited blank friend Andrew to join them at the library. In this case here, we see the connector and tells us that we are looking at both the subjects over here. So this should be the plural pronoun. So which pronoun should we use over here? Between their or them? Okay. Craig has submitted the answer. Okay. Right, the correct answer here would be there. Okay. There is used to indicate, again, a possessive pronoun over here. Use it before a verb. Before a noun. Okay. There comes before a noun. Next case here, the noun is friend. Okay, so well done, Pin Pin. Well done, Craigs, for getting the right answer in question 10. Okay, with that, let's move on to our next section looking at vocab MCQ. Is everyone ready? Right, so for vocab section, some students find it easier, some students find it harder. But let's take a look to see how we can tackle these questions. Okay. First question. John and Wei Ming are no longer arguing as they have decided to blank and become friends again. In this question over here, we have 4 idioms. Okay. And I have viewers that have noted before who have let me know, who have informed. Okay. I have viewers who have pointed out that in recent PSLE years, the vocab MCQ questions do not tend to have idiom questions anymore. Okay. Yeah, and certainly this is the overall trend that we are seeing over the years as well. In recent years, there seems to be a very intentional shift to move away from testing idioms. Okay, maybe this is reflective of understanding. This may be reflective of catering the questions towards current literacy levels among students. It's not fair to expect all students to know idioms, right? Idioms are common sayings that we use in our day-to-day speech, like raining cats and dogs. Okay? However, while idioms may no longer be as popular or as common in your PSLE papers, you can definitely use it not just for paper 2, but especially for paper 1. Many of us in paper 1, when writing your composition, we tend to find our language marks stagnating, right? Our language marks always tend to bunch around maybe 13, 14, maybe even 15 or 16. But how do you break out of that? How do you break out of that rut over here and move to score our 18, 19, and even 20 upon 20 for language marks in paper 1? Idioms are my best, right? Pinted, as you have pointed out also, yes, in the past, NER exams still have, and some schools still practice it. But idioms, even if they do not show up in PSLE, they are especially useful for paper 1 as well, right? To allow you to score your paper 1 marks for language and also to write more enriching and vivid description of your content. So it's good to learn idioms as well, as Pin Pin is promoting over here. So let's take a look at our 4 options. Okay, we have buy some time, face the music, bury the hatchet, and read between the lines. To buy some time is try to delay or stall for time. Okay, to try to delay or try to stall for time. To face the music, we use this before, right? Especially in our paper 1 when writing our compositions. At the end of the story, we need to face the music, right? If you have made a mistake, it's time to face the music. So what does it mean to face the music? To face the music is to bear the consequences. If you were late for school, you have to face the music and report to the discipline master, or to get your name taken down by the school prefect. Okay, so to face the music is to bear the consequences of your actions. How about bury the hatchet? Quite a strange turn of phrase. Bury, we know what bury means, right? To bury something underground. But what is a hatchet? Have any of you seen this word before? A hatchet? Okay. A hatchet. A hatchet is also known as an axe, right? The axe that lumberjacks and loggers use to cut down trees. Okay. So what does bury the hatchet mean? To bury the hatchet is to bury the axe. It means to set aside your differences or to resolve a disagreement. Okay, resolve your differences. For example, I was in a fight with my sibling over who could play video games, but in the end we decided to bury the hatchet and compromise to play together. Okay, so to bury the hatchet is to set aside your differences and to resolve your disputes. Why do I have to repeat differences here? A conflict. And finally, to read between the lines. What does it mean to read between the lines? To read between the lines is to uncover the hidden meaning or hidden messages. Uncover the hidden meaning in the text. Now, in this case here, in this question, John and Wei Ming are no longer arguing as they have decided to become friends again. So if they are becoming friends again and they are no longer arguing, this tells us that they are able to set aside their differences and to resolve their disagreements. That leads us to option. What answer would this be? Right, option 3, to bury the hatchet. Okay. So well done, Pin Pin, for getting the right answer. I'm glad idioms are indeed your best suit. Okay, yeah, just once. You have to rain down the trees again. Alright. Well done for those who have gotten it right. For idioms, it's good to have a handy grasp on your use of idioms in your language. Okay. Question 12. Question 12. As Lena was busy with work, she had to blank the time she spent on her hobbies. Okay. These are examples of phrasal verbs. Oops. What are phrasal verbs? Phrasal verbs are phrases, short sequences of words, phrases that are meant to be read together as a single action. In this case, she had to reduce the time she spent on her hobbies. Okay, I see Pimpin and Craigs have their answers in cut back. Okay. Right, so that is the answer over here, cut back. To cut back is to reduce, right? You might hear from your parents, oh, during the holidays, you need to cut back on your screen time or your mobile device time. Okay, so to reduce. And then your reply will be, Mom and Dad, I wish you would cut back on your nagging because you do not want to hear their words. So again, to reduce, to cut back. Okay? But certainly these phrasal verbs may not necessarily be easy to understand or easy to use. If you have trouble learning phrasal verbs, what should you do? Anyone in the chat knows what you should do if you have struggle learning phrasal verbs? Okay, unfortunately, there's no there's no silver bullet or one size fits all method to learning phrasal verbs. There's no magic lesson to help you learn all the phrasal verbs all at once. But the next closest thing to getting a magic wand to learn all the phrasal verbs would be having a cheat sheet to learn phrasal verbs. Okay, and where do we find our cheat sheets? Right? Once again, you can go back to our TikTok page, go to our shop, and you'll notice that there's a document over here that is not in our blog. This is specific. This is special only to our Writers at Work e-store over here, so it's not in our blog. But we have an enrichment note cheat sheet over here on phrasal verbs. Okay, so maybe if I could explain the reason why we have this cheat sheet over here. Oops. The reason why we have this cheat sheet over here is because many times we have students, we have many viewers in our chat asking us, teacher, how many phrasal verbs do I have to learn? 1, 5, 10, 20? So obviously there is no hard limit on how many you can learn and how many you can apply, because phrasal verbs are again part of vocabulary that we use regularly. However, if you need a starting point, you can always look at our cheat sheet over here. Again, once again, available for you to download, print out, keep it at home also, and file it away on your own revision. Okay. Once again, you don't need to log in, you don't need to pay anything, or you don't need to log in. You can just go to our e-store to just download a copy of this cheat sheet for your own study reference. We have a total of 1, 2, 3, all the way to 123 phrasal verbs for you to study and practice at your own time. Okay. Just think about it, 123 is about 4 months. Okay, maybe just not. Okay, just learn a phrasal verb a day. Then within 4 months, you can learn 120 more phrasal verbs than you already know. Each phrasal verb is split across the phrasal verb. What meaning does it have? And the example of using it in a sentence. And what's great about this is that it's alphabetized, right? So if you need to find a phrasal verb starting with the letter E, for example, just go A, B, C, D, E, F, ease up to ease off, to end in, to end up. Okay? So these are alphabetized for your reference over here. If you come across your practice papers, you have a phrasal verb you're not familiar with, you can refer to this cheat sheet. Maybe you can find this cheat sheet over here to help you answer the question and to understand how to use these phrasal verbs. Okay. But of course, we're not throwing you off the deep end. We're not going to just throw 120 phrasal verbs and tell you go study by yourself. That is not the case here. Okay, we want to make sure that not only are you studying hard, you're studying smart, you're studying effectively. So at the end of these 123 phrases, you also have a study guide on how you can study for your phrasal verbs. Okay, from a study guide from a student's perspective over here, we've gotten feedback from our students. How did they find it useful? What are some methods that they personally found useful and effective for them to learn their phrasal verbs? Okay, so this is something that you can use and refer to at your own time. Even after the live stream is over, you can still go to our e-store, download and print out a copy of this phrasal verbs cheat sheet handy guide, so you can print it out, put it as a wallpaper, put it in your file, put it on your table and your work desk, so you can refer to it from time to time. Any questions on phrasal verbs? Hello, hi someone. We're just talking about phrasal verbs, and this very useful worksheet is available on our website for free access. But don't tell those that are not in the live stream for today, alright? They must come in over here. They must join the live stream in order to find out. Okay? This is really useful, right? I mean, if I was a student many years ago, I would have found this very useful. Have all the phrasal verbs all printed out for me to refer to, instead of me individually going through all my assessment books, circling them, and then transferring over to my notebook. This is so much more convenient for my studies. So if I was a student, I'll find this very useful, definitely. And I also tell my students also in class that if you have phrasal verbs, you need help, just refer to this worksheet for their reference. Okay. Cut back and to cut down. Okay, great question for cut back and cut down. Okay, so although cut down is not in our list of options over here, we have cut back. Right? We just talk about cut back in terms of reducing a certain amount, reducing certain habits, and not carrying out these behaviors. How about cutting down? To cut down, would then be to lower the levels of. Lower the levels of something. To cut down, for example, if you're eating healthy food, you need to cut down on your consumption of oily or unhealthy food or junk food. Question 13. Harmful ultraviolet rays from the sun could easily damage the baby's blank skin. We have weary, dainty, feeble, and delicate. Weary means tired. Not quite the case over here. The baby doesn't have tired skin. But between dainty, feeble, and delicate, how are they different? For question 13. Okay. Dainty. Dainty refers to something that's small and pretty. For example, if you went for a manicure, I don't have manicure, but if I did go for a manicure, right? If you have prints on your nails, you have dainty nails because it's small and yet intricately patterned. Okay, so that would be a dainty for description. Feeble refers to weak, physically lacking in strength, physically lacking in effort. While delicate is something that can be easily broken or easily damaged. In this case over here, the answer would then be delicate. Okay? A delicate flower is one that can be broken easily, whose petals can be easily snipped off. Okay. Any questions for question 13? Okay. Yep, delicate would be the correct answer for question 13, talking about something that's easily damaged. Question 14. The school has blank plans to build a new library near the courtyard. Question 14. All of them are verbs starting with the prefix of un, right? Unveil, untangle, unearth, and to uncomb. Okay. What do they mean over here? Uncomb just refers to messy or untidy. Okay. If you go to school with uncombed hair, it is messy, it's untidy. To unearth. To unearth is to discover, right? Think about the physical act of unearthing something, removing something out, digging something out from the ground to unearth hidden treasures. So to unearth is to discover. Discover through a search. You unearth a secret, unearth maybe some hidden information. Okay. Pimpin and Jia have added in their answers for question 14. But let's go through the rest. First, to untangle. To untangle the mystery is to make sense of, to understand a situation, to demystify. And finally, to unveil. What is a veil? A veil is used to cover something up, right? A veil is used to cover something. So to unveil, it is to present it or to publicly announce. Publicly announce or show something. And in this case here, the school is making known their plans to build a new library near the courtyard, right? They're telling everyone, they're telling the whole school about it. So that is option 1, to unveil their plans to build a new library near the courtyard. Any questions? Alright, on to our final question for our vocab section. I blank remember that Hannah was not in school last week, but I am not certain. Okay. We have four very different adverbs over here. Remember, adverbs are adjectives for verbs. Okay. So what are each of these adverbs used for? Okay. What do you think over here? Okay, I think Craig's has also joined in the answers. Raucously. Raucously, that means something that's noisy or loudly. Distinctly. Distinctly is something that's noticeably. Impossible to miss. Vaguely. Vaguely means roughly. Okay? Roughly with a not full certainty. In this case here, I am not certain. I'm not certain tells us that I'm not fully confident that Hannah was not in school, so I can only roughly remember. So that would be option 1, vaguely. Okay. Right, well done Pimpin, and well done also for the rest who have gotten your answers in for question 15. Any questions for our vocab section? Okay, and I think we are a bit pressed for time, so I think we can end off today with the editing passage. Okay, unless are there any passages you'd like us to take a particular look at between grammar close, vocab close, and the editing passage? I think the editing passage will be covering some new ground, right? We've already gone through grammar, we've already gone through vocab, so let's look at the editing passage. Yeah, editing passage here. Okay, the editing passage over here talks about ozone. Okay. Ozone, ozone, sorry. Ozone is a layer of atmospheric oxygen that serves to protect the earth from the UV rays in the sun. You know, UV rays can be very damaging. That's why you have to put on sunscreen and sunblock lotion when you go outdoors. Okay. The ozone layer serves a very important purpose to protect the earth and its residents like you and me from the damaging harmful rays of the sun. The ozone layer is a region of Earth's stratosphere that absorbs most of the sun's ultraviolet radiation. According to a United Nations report, the hole in Earth's ozone layer is slowly recovering. Okay, recovery over here is in a wrong word form. What should be the correct word form over here? Instead of a noun, it should be a recovering, right? A verb in the continuous tense because it is still happening. It is slowly recovering. This comes after 35 years after an international agreement, the Montreal Protocol, to ban the use of a class of chemicals that destroy the ozone layer. What's wrong with destroy over here? Is it a wrong use of tense? Present tense, past tense? What do you think is wrong with question 40? Okay, be careful. This is not a tense mistake. This is a subject-verb agreement mistake. Okay, the verb is destroy. What is the subject? Singular form for monkey. Monkey Pao Pei is asking singular form. Why singular? Chemicals, right? Chemicals, plural what? Why is it singular? We're not just looking at the singular form. We're looking at a class of, right? A class of serving as the collective noun, the group of chemicals. Okay, so it's singular, telling us that this should be the singular verb destroys. Okay, Well done. So good spot over here. Be careful, alright? There might be different form of grammar mistakes in our passage. The ozone layer is often used in aerosols or refrigerators. Many types of packaging contain these pollutants too. How do you spell pollutant? We learn it in school, right? In our maybe FTGP, if you learn about the environment during then. Pollute, ANTS. Okay, think about poor little ants running around due to pollution. Pollutants. Okay. The ozone layer is a blanket of gas that exists from 10 km to and 50 km above Earth's surface. Okay, so this is a pair mistake that you should take note of, right? From is paired up with to, from something to something. For example, this live stream is lasting from 2:30 to 4 p.m. Okay. However, that is for time. For distance, what should you be using over here? What is the correct substitution for from? Okay, this might not be easy, but let's think about it for a moment. What is the correct substitution for from? Okay. Right, between. The ozone layer exists between 10 kilometers and 50 kilometers above the Earth's surface. It shields the planet. Shield over here is spelled wrongly. SHIELDS. It shields the planet against harmful radiation from the sun, skin cancer, and blank damage. Okay. Environment over here, it is the noun. We need it in the adjective form to describe the type of damage it deals. So what is excuse me? What is the adjective of environment? Environmental. Okay, well done, Pin Pin, getting the right answers. Environmental. Take note also because of the spelling. Don't mess up the spelling for environmental. Alright, most of the word is already provided for you. Be careful with the spelling. To plants and marine ecosystems are often attributed to the effects of this harmful radiation. Effects, EFF, ECTS. In the atmosphere, concentration. Take note, concentration, the second C has the sibilant pronunciation, so it is concentration. Of two such chemicals, chlorine and bromine, has reduced. What's wrong with has over here? Should it be past tense, had reduced? Okay, this is not a tense mistake, this is a subject-verb agreement mistake. Okay, we're looking at levels over here. Levels tells us that the subject over here is plural. Okay, so it should be have reduced. This shows the effectiveness of the agreement. The healing of the ozone layer shows what could be achieved when the world worked together. Okay, this is a tense mistake. Why do we know this? Because we see the rest of the verb tense of the sentence. The sentence verb tense has showed, could, and worked, which tells us that this sentence verb tense is in the past tense. Okay, so the answer also over here must also remain in the past tense. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so 3 clues in the question over here that point to it being in the past tense. With continuous efforts, note spelling for continuous, to keep current policies in place, the ozone layer can fully recover by 2066, and there could be fewer occurrences of natural catastrophes. Okay, last one, occurrences, OCC URRENCES. Okay, so take note of the spelling for occurrences. Occurrences has double C and double R. Any questions? Alright, and with that, that brings us the end of our live stream today. Thank you very much for joining in. We'll have one more evening session later on in the evening, so stay tuned. If you want to find out when we are going on live, you can always turn on notifications and subscribe so that you can receive the notification where we are on. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining me this Friday afternoon. For those of us who are going off for school holidays, I hope you've had a pleasant school holiday, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye. What time is the next live stream from Josh? Okay, so Josh is back from from their shower. Okay. The next live stream will be at 5 p.m. 5 p.m. So an hour from now. Okay, so next hour or so you can go off, maybe take a nap, do some work, you can go for another shower if you like. We'll see you all back at 5 p.m. for the next live stream. Okay. Where do you find us? You can always find us on TikTok, alright? You can always find us back on this page over here for our live streams. Okay. Alright, see you all next time. Bye bye.